The town of Dustwood sat like a scab on the desert's skin. All wooden boards and dust devils, where the law was whatever Judge Samuel Harrow said it was. The sun beat down merciless on the main street that afternoon, making the air shimmer like water that wasn't there. Dogs slept in whatever shade they could find, and decent folk kept indoors, leaving the street to those who had business that couldn't wait for cooler hours. Eliza Harrow stepped out of the general store, her navy blue dress too fine for this place, too clean for this dust. At 23, she moved with the careful grace of someone who'd been taught that a lady's reputation was more fragile than china. Her uncle had raised her that way since her parents died of fever 10 years back. She'd learned to keep her spine straight, her voice soft, and her opinions to herself. The weight of packages in her arms blocked her view as she turned toward home. She collided hard with something solid, a man's chest that smelled of leather, gunpowder, and weeks on the trail. Her parcels scattered across the boardwalk. "Pardon me," she said automatically, dropping to gather her things without looking up. A hand appeared in her vision, sun-darkened, scarred across the knuckles, steady as stone. "Leave them." The voice made her freeze, low and rough, like gravel grinding under wagon wheels. She looked up then, past dusty boots and worn chaps, past the pair of Colt revolvers riding low on lean hips, to a face that made her breath catch. Cole Maddox hadn't shaved in days. Dark hair hung past his collar, and his gray eyes held the kind of cold that comes from seeing too much and caring about too little. A scar ran through his left eyebrow, white against sun-weathered skin. He stood there like he owned the ground beneath his feet, like the warrant posters with his name didn't matter one bit. She knew who he was. Everyone from here to Sacramento knew Cole Maddox, a train robber, killer, the kind of man whose name mothers used to frighten children into obedience. "I said leave them." He stepped closer, and she caught the glint of afternoon sun on the badge he wore turned backward, some lawman's star taken as a trophy. "You're Judge Harrow's niece." It wasn't a question. She nodded, her throat suddenly dry as August Creek bed. His eyes traveled over her, slow and deliberate, taking in the pearl buttons, the lace collar, the careful curls pinned beneath her bonnet. A smile touched one corner of his mouth, but it held no warmth. "I'll ruin you." The words dropped between them like stones in still water. Not a threat, exactly, more like a promise, or maybe a warning. He said it quiet, almost gentle, the way a man might tell you there's a rattler in your path. "I don't understand," Eliza managed, though her pulse hammered in her throat. "You will." He touched the brim of his hat, a mockery of politeness, and walked past her into the Dollar Saloon, leaving her kneeling there among her scattered purchases. Eliza's hands shook as she gathered flour sacks and ribbon spools. Those 3 words echoed in her head, making her skin prickle despite the heat. She'd been warned about men like Cole Maddox all her life, but nobody had told her they could make a threat sound like a dare. Inside the Dollar Saloon, Cole found a corner table where he could watch both doors. The place reeked of spilled whiskey and unwashed men. Poker players hunched over their cards, and saloon girls in faded satin worked the room with tired smiles. He ordered whiskey and waited. He'd come back to Dustwood for one reason. Tom Garrett, the man who'd sold out Cole's brother to a hanging judge 5 years back, was dealing faro at a table near the bar, getting fat on blood money. Cole had spent those 5 years running, fighting, staying alive for this moment. But he hadn't expected her. The judge's niece shouldn't have mattered. Just another starched collar in a town full of hypocrites. Except something in those green eyes had caught him off guard. Not fear, exactly, but a kind of recognition, like she saw past the reputation to something else, something he'd buried so deep he'd forgotten it was there. Dangerous thinking. He knocked back his whiskey and ordered another. The saloon doors swung open. 3 men entered, badges glinting on their vests. The piano player's hands stilled. Conversations died. Even the poker players looked up from their cards. Deputy Marshal Frank Morrison led them, a man who'd built his career on other men's corpses. He spotted Cole immediately, hand dropping to his gun. Maddox, heard you were fool enough to come back. Cole didn't move, didn't even look up from his glass. Frank, still hiding behind that tin star. I see. You're under arrest, murder, robbery, and too many other charges to count. Those are some serious accusations. Cole finally met his eyes. You got proof, or just more of Judge Harrow's creative paperwork? Morrison's jaw tightened. Everyone knew Harrow's court ran on bought testimony and manufactured evidence. But nobody said it out loud. Not if they wanted to keep breathing. On your feet. Hands where I can see them. Cole smiled then. The kind of smile that made smart men step back. I'm drinking here, Frank. When I'm done, maybe we'll talk about your warrant, or maybe we'll talk about what really happened to my brother. Your brother was a horse thief and a killer. My brother was 19 years old. The temperature in Cole's voice dropped 20 degrees. Never stole so much as a penny candy until Tom Garrett needed someone to blame for his own crimes. Garrett, at the faro table, had gone pale as prairie grass in drought. Morrison's hand tightened on his gun. I won't ask again. Good. I'm tired of your voice already. The saloon held its breath. Morrison had 2 men with him, but Cole Maddox's reputation with those colts was legend. The smart money would have bet on a bloodbath. The moment stretched like taffy, then shattered. Uncle Frank. Eliza stood in the doorway, silhouetted by afternoon light. She'd changed into a sage green dress that brought out her eyes, and her hair was repinned to perfection. But there was something different about her, a tension in her shoulders, a brightness in her gaze that hadn't been there an hour ago. Miss Harrow. Morrison's voice carried relief and warning in equal measure. You shouldn't be here. I need to speak with you about the church social. Mrs. Morrison asked me to remind you. It was a lie so transparent Cole almost laughed. She'd come to see what would happen, drawn by the same dangerous curiosity that made moths dance with flames. This isn't the time, Morrison said. Of course. But she didn't leave. Instead, she looked directly at Cole, and something passed between them, a recognition of the game being played. Mr. Maddox. He touched his hat brim again, this time with genuine amusement. Miss Harrow. Eliza, go home. Morrison's voice cracked like a whip. Now. She went, but not before Cole saw the flash of defiance in her eyes. He'd lit something in her with those 3 words on the street, something that wouldn't be easily extinguished. Morrison waited until her footsteps faded. This isn't over, Maddox. No, Cole agreed, pouring himself another whiskey. It's just beginning. The deputies backed out slowly. Morrison last. When they were gone, conversation gradually resumed. Though everyone kept glancing at Cole's corner, he sat there until sunset, drinking slow and thinking hard. He'd come for simple revenge. A bullet for Tom Garrett. Maybe one for Judge Harrow, too. Clean and final. But now there was a girl with green eyes and hidden fire, walking around in her uncle's prison of respectability. He'd warned her fair, told her straight what would happen if she got too close. Smart women listened to warnings like that. Thing was, Cole had a feeling Eliza Harrow had never been allowed to be anything but smart. Maybe it was time she'd learned what happened when smart women did foolish things. He left money on the table and walked out into the cooling evening. Dustwood was settling into another night of pretended peace. Oil lamps flickering to life behind windows. Decent folk locking their doors. Somewhere in this town. Eliza Harrow was probably sitting down to supper with her uncle, saying grace over food bought with the blood of men like Cole's brother, playing the perfect niece while that defiance smoldered behind her eyes. He'd meant what he said. He would ruin her, one way or another. Either she'd run from what he represented, or she'd run toward it. Either way, that perfect life her uncle had built for her would crack like drought-baked earth. Cole Maddox had come to Dustwood for revenge. But looking at the judge's big house on the hill, all lit up like a birthday cake, he thought maybe there was more than one way to destroy a man. Sometimes you used bullets, sometimes you used the truth, and sometimes You used his own flesh and blood against him. The warning came at breakfast, delivered with the same cold precision Judge Samuel Harrow used in his courtroom. "Cole Maddox is a rabid dog," he said, not looking up from his newspaper. "You stay clear of him. Eliza, that's not a request." Eliza spread butter on her biscuit with careful strokes. "Of course, Uncle." "Don't of course me. Girl, Frank Morrison told me about yesterday. You walked into the Dollar Saloon." His pale eyes finally met hers, sharp as glass shards. "No niece of mine sets foot in such places. I don't care what you were only." He folded the paper with violent precision. "That man killed 7 people across 3 territories. He'd shoot you dead as soon as look at you." But he hadn't shot her. He'd looked at her like he could see straight through her corset and crinolines to something raw underneath. 3 words: "I'll ruin you." And she'd barely slept, turning them over like stones in her mind. "Yes, Uncle." Harrow studied her for a long moment. "Charles Pemberton will call on you this afternoon. The territorial prosecutor's son. Harvard educated, good family. Uncle, You'll receive him properly. Wear the blue dress with the high collar." He stood, brushing imaginary crumbs from his vest. "It's time you were married. Eliza, past time. A woman needs guidance, and I won't live forever." He left her sitting there, staring at cold eggs and considering how a life could be mapped out like territory lines, every border decided by someone else. An hour later, she stood at her bedroom window watching the street below. Dustwood was waking up sluggish, merchants sweeping boardwalks, freight wagons rolling through, normal people living normal lives, never questioning the bars of their cages because they couldn't see them. Then she saw him. Cole Maddox leaned against a post outside the blacksmith's shop, rolling a cigarette with unhurried movements. Even from here, she could see the easy readiness in his stance, the way his hand never strayed far from iron, a hunter's patience, as if sensing her gaze. He looked up, straight at her window. The distance should have made it impossible to see his expression, but she felt his attention like heat from a branding iron. He touched his hat brim, that same mocking salute, and walked away. Her hands trembled as she let the curtain fall. By afternoon, she sat in the parlor's best chair, spine rigid, receiving Charles Pemberton. He was everything Uncle Samuel wanted. Tall, fair, with soft hands that had never held anything more dangerous than a law book. He spoke about territorial politics and his father's cases while she nodded at appropriate intervals. "Your uncle speaks highly of your moral character," Charles said, teacup balanced on his knee. "It's refreshing to meet a woman who understands propriety." Through the lace curtains, she caught a glimpse of movement. Cole Maddox rode past, slow and deliberate, close enough she could see the dust on his black coat. Their eyes met for one electric second before he was gone. "Miss Harrow?" "I'm sorry, Mr. Pemberton, you were saying?" "I was suggesting we might attend the church social together on Sunday." His smile was practiced, political. "With your uncle's permission?" "Naturally. Naturally." The word tasted like ash. After he left, she escaped to the garden, needing air that didn't smell of pomade and propriety. The roses her aunt had planted were dying in the heat, but she watered them anyway, finding comfort in the simple task. "Pemberton seems a poor match for you." She spun, nearly dropping the watering can. Cole stood at the garden gate, one shoulder propped against the post. In daylight, she could see details shadow had hidden, the fine lines around his eyes, the careful way he held his left arm, like an old injury bothered him. "You shouldn't be here. Lots of things I shouldn't do." He didn't move to enter, just studied her with those winter-gray eyes. "That boy would bore you to death inside a year, maybe less. That's not your concern." "No," he smiled, but it held an edge. "Maybe I'm developing a conscience. Wouldn't want to ruin something that's already ruining itself." Heat flooded her cheeks. "I don't know what you mean." "Sure you do." He pulled out tobacco and papers, building another cigarette with practiced ease. "You're drowning in that big house, playing dress-up doll for your uncle. How long before you just stop breathing altogether? You don't know me. I know caged things when I see them. He lit the cigarette. Smoke curling blue in the afternoon light. Question is, do you want out bad enough to take the key when it's offered? Is that what you're offering? Freedom? She laughed, but it came out cracked. You're a wanted man, Mr. Maddox. You can't even free yourself. Something shifted in his expression. Surprise, maybe, or respect. Fair point, but here's the difference. I chose my cage. Every warrant, every bullet, every mile of running, all chosen. He exhaled smoke. What did you choose? Miss Harrow? Before she could answer, shouts erupted from the street. Horses thundered past, 6 riders in matching dusters, guns glinting at their hips. Pinkertons, Cole said, watching them with the same calm he might observe weather. Your uncle's bringing in extra help. For you? Among others. He dropped the cigarette, grinding it under his heel. They'll tear this town apart looking for me. Might be safer if you got that bore of a prosecutor to take you somewhere else for a while. I won't run. No? He looked at her with something that might have been admiration. Then you'd better learn to shoot. Things are about to get interesting in Dustwood. He turned to go, then paused. That offer stands, by the way, the key, but you'd have to want it more than you want your uncle's approval, more than you want safety. His smile was sharp as a blade. More than you want to keep being a good girl. Then he was gone, leaving her standing among dying roses with revolution blooming in her chest. That evening, Uncle Samuel brought 2 Pinkerton agents to dinner. They sat at her table eating her food while discussing how they'd hunt Cole Maddox down. The lead agent, a man named Garrison with dead eyes and scarred hands, described tracking methods like a butcher discussing cuts of meat. We'll start with his known associates. Garrison said, apply pressure. Someone always talks. What kind of pressure? Eliza heard herself ask. Uncle Samuel frowned at her speaking, but Garrison answered, whatever's necessary. Miss, these men understand only one language. Violence? Justice, he corrected, though his smile said they were the same thing to him. She excused herself early, claiming a headache. In her room, she stood at the window again, watching the town settle into uneasy darkness. Somewhere out there, Cole Maddox moved through shadows, every step dogged by men who'd kill him for money. He was everything she'd been taught to fear, lawless, dangerous, beyond redemption. But when she closed her eyes, she didn't see a monster. She saw a man who looked at cages and chose to break them, no matter the cost. The next days passed in mounting tension. Pinkerton searched every building, questioned every citizen. 2 Mexican families were run out of town on suspicion of harboring fugitives. The blacksmith was beaten for refusing to answer questions about who'd shod which horses. And through it all, Cole Maddox remained a ghost. Sometimes she'd glimpse him, a shadow in an alley, a figure on a distant ridge. Once, she found a wild desert rose on her windowsill, roots wrapped in damp cloth. No note, but she knew. Charles Pemberton called again, this time with his mother, a dried-up woman who examined Eliza like livestock. They discussed wedding plans as if her consent was already given, debating dates and guest lists while she sat silent. A December wedding would be lovely, Mrs. Pemberton declared. The territorial governor could attend? Yes, Uncle Samuel agreed. Eliza will make a perfect prosecutor's wife. Perfect. The word followed her like a curse. That night, she made a decision. Or maybe the decision had been making itself since a scarred hand offered to help her pick up scattered parcels. Either way, she found herself wrapping a shawl around her shoulders and slipping out the back door. The Dollar Saloon was quieter than before, men drinking with one eye on the door. She entered through the back, heart hammering. The bartender, a grizzled man missing 2 fingers, looked her up and down. You're lost, miss. No, she said, surprising herself with how steady her voice came out. I'm exactly where I mean to be. I need to find Cole Maddox. The room went still. Every eye turned to her. The judge's niece, standing in a saloon asking after the most wanted man in 3 territories. Can't help you, the bartender said finally. She pulled out the pearl necklace her mother had left her, laying it on the scarred wood. This should buy some helpful information. The bartender studied the pearls. Then her face. Whatever he saw there made him nod slowly. Try the old mine shaft, 2 miles north, past Cathedral Rock. But miss? He leaned closer. You sure you know what you're doing? No, she admitted. But I'm going anyway. She left the pearls and walked out into the night, knowing she'd crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. Behind her, someone would already be riding to tell her uncle. By morning, her reputation would be in ruins. Good, she thought. Maybe ruins were where you went to build something new. 2 miles had never seemed so far. Every shadow could hide a Pinkerton. Every sound might be pursuit. But she kept walking. Following stars she'd learned to read from a Mexican woman who'd worked in her uncle's house before he'd dismissed her for teaching Eliza heathen ways. Cathedral Rock rose against the sky like a broken promise. Beyond it, the mine shaft yawned black. No fire, no sign of life. For a moment, she wondered if she'd been lied to. You've got sand, I'll give you that. She didn't jump this time, though her heart raced. Coal materialized from shadow, moving silent as smoke. How did you know I'd come? Didn't... He studied her in the moonlight. Hoped. Maybe you ready to hear what that key costs? Tell me. Everything. The word fell between them like a stone. Your name, your home, your family. The life you've built or had built for you. All of it burns. Sure you want to strike that match? She thought of Charles Pemberton's soft hands, of wedding plans made without her voice, of a future mapped in someone else's handwriting. I'm sure. He smiled then. The first real smile she'd seen from him. It transformed his face, showing glimpses of who he might have been in a different life. Then we'd better get you out of that dress and into something you can ride in. Come morning, this town's going to explode, and we need to be gone before the fires start. We? You didn't think I'd let you burn alone? Did you? He offered his hand, scarred and steady. I warned you. Eliza Harrow, I'd ruin you. Question is, what do you want to build from the ashes? She took his hand, feeling the calluses and strength, the promise and the threat. Something that's mine, she said, and in the darkness of the old mine shaft, with her old life crumbling behind her and an uncertain future ahead, Eliza Harrow began to discover what it meant to choose. The mine shaft was darker than any place Eliza had ever been, but Cole moved through it like he could see in the dark. She followed the sound of his boots, one hand trailing along the rough stone wall. Watch your head, he said, just as her bonnet brushed something wooden. A support beam, she realized. How many times had he sheltered here to know every hazard by heart? Light bloomed suddenly, a match flame touching oil lamp wick. The golden glow revealed a small chamber carved from rock, furnished with bedroll, saddlebags, and stacked provisions. A Winchester leaned against one wall. Everything a man needed to survive. Nothing more. Home sweet home, Cole said dryly. Not what you're used to, I expect. It's perfect, she said, meaning it. After years in her uncle's house, the honest poverty of this place felt clean. He gave her that look again, the one that saw too much. You say that now. Wait until you've been running for a week, sleeping on cold ground, eating beans from a can. Is that what we'll be doing, running? That's what I'll be doing. He set the lamp on a natural shelf in the rock. You'll be going back to town before your uncle sends out search parties. No. The word hung between them like a challenge. Cole crossed his arms, leaning against the wall. This isn't a game, Eliza. Those Pinkertons, I know what they are. I had dinner with them, remember? Listen to them plan your death over pot roast. She pulled off her bonnet, tired of its weight. I'm not going back. You don't understand what you're choosing. Then explain it to me. She sat on a crate, arranging her skirts with hands that barely trembled. You promised me a key. Was that a lie? He laughed, short and sharp. You've got spine, I'll say that. He pulled out his makings, rolling a cigarette with automatic movements. All right, you want the truth? Here it is. He lit the cigarette, smoke curling up toward the cave ceiling. 5 years ago, I was nobody. Worked cattle, broke horses, kept my nose clean. Had a kid brother, Danny, sweet boy, too trusting for his own good. Eliza stayed quiet, sensing this story didn't get told often. Tom Garrett ran a rustling operation, stealing horses and selling them across the border. When the law got close, he needed someone to blame. Paid a witness to say Danny was the thief. Your uncle presided over the trial. Cole's voice went flat. Took all of 2 hours. They hanged my brother that same afternoon. He was 19. I'm sorry, she whispered. Don't be sorry. Be angry. He turned to face her fully. Your uncle knew Danny was innocent. Garrett was paying him to look the other way. But a poor cowboy's life weighed less than gold in Samuel Harrow's scales of justice. The lamp flame flickered, making shadows dance on his face. I tried the legal way first, filed appeals, gathered evidence. Your uncle blocked it all. So I became what they said I was, an outlaw. If the law wouldn't give me justice, I'd take it myself. The men you killed. 7, like your uncle said, though he left out the part where they were all Garrett's men, sent to silence me. He took a long drag. I'm not claiming to be innocent. Eliza, I've done things that'll send me to hell, but I won't apologize for surviving. She absorbed this, fitting it against everything she'd been taught. And now you're here for Garrett. And your uncle. His eyes were steady on hers. Still want that key? Instead of answering directly. She stood and moved to the cave entrance. Outside, stars scattered across the desert sky like spilled silver. My parents died when I was 13, she said. Uncle Samuel took me in, gave me a home, an education. I owed him everything. Owed, Cole noted. Past tense. Last year, our housekeeper's daughter was attacked. Maria, her name was 15 years old. Eliza's hands clenched in her skirts. She identified her attacker, the mayor's son. Uncle Samuel threw out the case, said her testimony wasn't credible. A week later, Maria's family was run out of town. She turned back to find Cole watching her intently. That's when I started seeing the bars. She continued. All the pretty cages he'd built. Be a good girl, Eliza. Marry well. Eliza, don't ask questions. Eliza. And now? Now I want to burn it all down. The words surprised her with their vehemence. Is that wrong? To want to destroy something that destroyed others? If it's wrong, we'll be wrong together. He dropped the cigarette, crushing it beneath his boot. But I need you to understand. There's no going back. Once you run with me, you're marked. Every lawman from here to California will know your name. Good, she said fiercely. Let them know Eliza Harrow chose her own path. Something shifted in his expression, surprise mixing with what might have been admiration. You're not what I expected, Judge Harrow's niece. You're exactly what I expected. She admitted, dangerous, angry, broken in places. That doesn't scare you? It should. She moved closer, close enough to see the gold flecks in his gray eyes. But all I feel is relief, like I've been holding my breath for years and can finally exhale. He reached out, fingers ghosting along her jaw. I'll ruin you, remember? This is your last chance to run. You already ruined me. She caught his hand, pressing it against her cheek. The moment you looked at me and saw something more than a porcelain doll. There's no going back to who I was. For a heartbeat, they stood frozen, balanced on the edge of something irreversible. Then Cole pulled away, moving with sudden purpose. If we're doing this, we do it right. He opened a saddlebag, pulling out clothes. These belong to a friend. She was about your size. Can you ride? Yes. Her uncle had considered it unladylike, but she'd learned anyway, bribing the stable boys for lessons. Good. Change into these. We leave in an hour. She took the clothes, worn denim trousers, a man's shirt, sturdy boots. Where are we going? First, to watch Dustwood burn. His smile was sharp as a blade. I've got business with Garrett and your uncle. After that, Mexico maybe. Somewhere the law can't reach. And if I slow you down? He met her eyes steadily. Then I'll teach you to be faster. Now change. Time's wasting. She moved deeper into the cave for privacy, fingers fumbling with buttons and stays. The masculine clothes felt strange but liberating, like shedding a costume she'd worn too long. When she emerged, Cole was loading weapons, checking ammunition with practiced efficiency. He glanced up, paused, then nodded approval. "You'll do. Here." He handed her a revolver, smaller than his Colt's but still deadly. "Know how to use this? Point and pull the trigger. Close enough for now." He showed her how to load it, where to carry it. "Don't draw unless you mean to shoot. Don't shoot unless you mean to kill. Understood?" The weight of the gun was heavier than she'd expected. "Yes. One more thing." He pulled something from his pocket, a worn silver badge. This was Danny's. He was deputized the day before he died. Proud as could be. "Want you to have it?" She took the badge, running her thumb over the tarnished surface. "Cole, Don't." His voice was rough. "Just keep it safe. Ready?" She pinned the badge inside her shirt, over her heart. "Ready?" They led the horses out, his black stallion and a spotted mare he'd acquired for her. The night air was cool, carrying the scent of sage and distant rain. "Stay close," he instructed, swinging into his saddle with easy grace. "We'll circle wide, come into town from the north. With luck, they won't expect—" Hoofbeats cut him off, riders approaching fast, too many to count in the darkness. Cole drew his rifle in one smooth motion. "Get back in the mine," he ordered. "No." She fumbled for her revolver. "We do this together, remember?" He looked like he wanted to argue, but the riders were too close. 6 men materialized from the darkness, Pinkertons by their dusters and attitudes. Well, their leader drawled. "Cole Maddox and the judge's niece. Garrison's going to be real pleased." "Tell Garrison he can go to hell," Cole said conversationally. "After you." The night exploded. Cole's rifle cracked, dropping the leader from his saddle. Eliza's mare danced sideways as bullets whined past. She raised her revolver with shaking hands, squeezed the trigger. The kick nearly knocked her from the saddle, but a Pinkerton cursed and clutched his shoulder. "Ride!" Cole shouted, spurring his stallion forward. They plunged through the melee, horses screaming, guns blazing. A bullet tugged at Eliza's shirt. Another sparked off stone inches from her head. Terror and exhilaration flooded her veins like whiskey. Then they were through, racing across the desert with 3 survivors in pursuit. Cole twisted in his saddle, firing backward with impossible accuracy. Another Pinkerton fell. "The canyon!" Cole yelled. "Follow me!" They veered left, plunging between towering rock walls. The passage was narrow, forcing their pursuers to come single file. Cole wheeled his horse around. "Keep going, I'll hold them." "Like hell!" Eliza turned her mare, raising the revolver again. The first pursuer rounded the bend. Their guns spoke together, Cole's rifle and her pistol. The man tumbled from his horse. Whether from her shot or Cole's, she'd never know. The last Pinkerton saw his odds and fled, spurring back toward town. In the sudden silence, Eliza found herself shaking. The gun felt alien in her hand, heavier than before. She'd just shot a man, maybe killed him. "You all right?" Cole's voice was gentle. "I don't know." Honest answer. "Should I feel guilty? For defending yourself? No." He moved his horse closer. "But it's natural to feel shaken. First time always is. Will it get easier? The shooting? Yes. Living with it? That depends on why you pull the trigger." He reached out, steadying her trembling hand. "You did good. Eliza, Danny would have liked you." The comparison broke something in her, tears coming sudden and hot. She'd crossed so many lines tonight, forsaken her family, shot at lawmen, chosen an outlaw over everything safe and known. "Hey," Cole's thumb brushed her cheek. "No shame in tears. Means you're still human." "What if I don't want to be human? What if I want to be like you, stone cold and fearless?" "I'm not fearless." His laugh was bitter. "I'm terrified every damn day, scared of dying, scared of living, scared of dragging good people down with me. Like now. You didn't drag me. I jumped. Yeah, he said softly. You did. They sat there in the canyon darkness, hands linked across the space between horses. Behind them lay Dustwood and everything Eliza had been. Ahead waited uncertainty, danger, freedom. So what now? She asked. Now we run. Cole squeezed her fingers once before letting go. We hit hard and fast, take what we need, vanish before they can react. It's not an easy life, Eliza. But it's honest. Every choice your own, every road open. Teach me, she said. Everything. How to shoot, how to ride, how to survive. I don't want to be a burden. You're not a burden. He turned his horse toward the open desert. You're a partner, equal share in everything, the danger, the freedom, the guilt, still willing. Instead of answering, she spurred her mare forward, taking the lead behind them. She could see the faint glow of Dustwood's lights. By morning, passes would be forming. Her uncle would put a price on her head to match Cole's. Let them come, she thought. They'd find Eliza Harrow was gone, burned away like morning mist. In her place rode someone new, someone dangerous, someone free. You coming, Outlaw? She called back. Cole's laughter chased her into the night. Right behind you, renegade, always. And so they rode toward the horizon, where stars met sand and anything was possible for those brave enough to claim it. The storm came out of nowhere. The way desert storms do, 1 minute clear skies, the next a wall of sand and fury bearing down like God's own fist. Cole had been watching the horizon, reading signs in the wind shift and the way jackrabbits fled eastward. We need shelter, he shouted over the rising howl. Now! Eliza squinted through the dust already stinging her eyes. They'd been riding hard for 2 days, putting distance between themselves and Dustwood. Her body ached in places she didn't know could hurt, but she hadn't complained once. There, she pointed through the haze. Rock formation. He saw it too, a cluster of boulders that might offer protection. They spurred their exhausted horses toward it as the storm hit full force. Sand scoured exposed skin like ground glass. The world disappeared into a brown-gray hell of wind and grit. Cole reached the rocks first, finding what he'd hoped, a natural cave worn into the stone by centuries of wind. He yanked his horse inside, then grabbed Eliza's reins, hauling her mare to safety just as visibility dropped to nothing. The cave was shallow but dry, barely large enough for 2 people and 2 horses. They pressed against the back wall, listening to the storm rage like a living thing outside. Well, Eliza said, spitting sand. This is cozy. Despite everything, Cole found himself smiling. 2 days running for their lives, and she could still find humor. Not quite the Palace Hotel in San Francisco. I wouldn't know. Uncle never let me travel. She pulled off her hat, shaking dust from her hair. Is it always like this? The running? Sometimes it's worse. He loosened his horse's girth, checking the animal for injuries. Having second thoughts? No. The word came quick and firm. Just wondering what I signed up for. A lifetime of storms, literal and otherwise. He moved to check her mare, trying not to notice how close that put them in the confined space. Sleeping rough, eating cold beans, always watching your back. Men who'll kill you for the bounty on your head. Women who'll spit on you in the street. You're really selling this life of freedom. Want you to know the truth. The romantic songs about outlaws leave out the ugly parts. She was quiet for a moment. Then, tell me about the good parts. He considered while unsaddling the horses. Sunrise over empty desert. So beautiful it hurts. First coffee of the morning when you've survived another night. The look in a poor family's eyes when you give them money the banks would never lend. And, he turned to find her closer than expected. Green eyes steady on his. The way it feels to choose your own path, even when it's hard, even when it hurts. That's worth cold beans and sandstorms. Has been for me. He held her gaze. Might not be for you. Instead of answering, she unbuttoned her coat, his friend's coat, really, and shook it out. The movement made her wince. You're hurt. He moved toward her, then stopped. Where? It's nothing. Saddle sore. Let me see. Cole. We're partners, remember? Partners look after each other. She turned her back, lifting her shirt slightly. Angry welts marked where the saddle had rubbed her skin raw through the unfamiliar clothes. 2 days of hard riding with no conditioning. He should have expected this. Jesus, Eliza, why didn't you say something? Because you'd have slowed down. We needed distance. He dug through his saddlebags, finding the small tin of salve he carried. This'll sting, but it'll help. May I? She nodded. He kept his touch clinical, spreading the medicine carefully, but he couldn't help noticing the smooth skin, the determined set of her shoulders. This woman who'd been raised in silk and lace, choosing saddle sores and sandstorms. There, should feel better by morning. Thank you. She lowered her shirt, turning to face him. In the dim light filtering through sand and stone, her face was all shadows and stubborn angles. Cole, can I ask you something? Shoot. That night in the mine, you said you'd ruin me. But sometimes I think... She paused, searching for words. Sometimes I think you're trying to save me instead. Pushing me away, warning me off. Why offer the key if you don't want me to take it? The question hit too close to truths he'd been avoiding. Maybe I'm no good at wanting the right things. Or maybe you're better than you think. Don't. His voice came out rougher than intended. Don't make me into some kind of hero. Eliza, I'm not. I came to Dustwood to kill your uncle. Still planning to. I know. Doesn't that bother you? He raised you. He also destroyed Maria's family. And your brother. And God knows how many others. She moved closer. Close enough he could see the gold flecks in her eyes. Uncle Samuel taught me about justice. He just didn't expect me to apply the lesson to him? The storm howled louder, sealing them in their stone shelter. One of the horses stamped nervously. Cole found himself caught between stepping back and moving forward, between safety and something far more dangerous than any sandstorm. This is a bad idea, he said. Probably. She didn't move away. I'm poison. Eliza, everything I touch turns to ash. I'm already burning. Her hand found his, fingers threading together like they belonged that way. Been burning since you said 3 words on a dusty street. He should have pulled away. Should have remembered all the reasons this was wrong. The badge heavy in his pocket, the blood on his hands, the prices on both their heads now. Instead, he lifted his free hand to her face, thumb tracing the line of her jaw. You deserve better than a broken-down outlaw with more past than future. I deserve, she said carefully, to choose for myself, and I choose you. The kiss was inevitable as gravity, her stretching up, him bending down, meeting in the middle like 2 forces of nature colliding. Nothing gentle about it. 2 days of tension, of unspoken want, of dancing around this moment, all crashed together. She tasted like trail dust and determination, her hands fisted in his shirt, pulling him closer. He backed her against the cave wall, careful of her injured back but desperate to eliminate any space between them. This was what he'd warned her about, this consuming need that burned through common sense like wildfire through dry grass. He'd known from that first moment on the street that she could destroy him more thoroughly than any bullet. Thunder crashed outside, real thunder now. The storm turning from sand to rain, they broke apart, breathing hard. The horses, Eliza said, voice unsteady. They're fine. But he stepped back anyway, needing distance to think. Eliza, don't you dare apologize. Wasn't going to. He ran a hand through his hair, dislodging sand. Was going to say we should slow down. You've been through enough changes without this, she laughed, but it held an edge. You mean the only honest thing that's happened to me in years? You don't know me, not really. Then tell me. She sat on a relatively flat stone, patting the space beside her. We're not going anywhere until this storm passes. Tell me who Cole Maddox really is. He hesitated, then joined her. The stone was cold even through his clothes. What do you want to know? Everything. Start from the beginning. So he did. Told her about growing up on a hardscrabble ranch in Texas. Parents dead from fever when he was 16. How he'd raised Danny alone, working cattle to keep them fed. The dreams they'd had. Danny wanting to study law. Cole saving for their own spread. He was the smart one, Cole said, staring at the rain sheeting past the cave mouth. Could have been anything. Lawyer, teacher, even a judge, a real one. Not like Uncle Samuel, she finished quietly. Yeah, he pulled out his makings, then remembered the confined space and put them away. I was just a cowboy who was good with a gun, but Danny made me want to be better. And after they killed him, the words still tasted like ashes. Went a little crazy. I think, first man I killed was the one who lied at the trial. Found him in a saloon in Amarillo, drunk and spending Garrett's blood money. Didn't even remember Danny's name. Eliza's hand found his in the darkness. I'm sorry. Don't be. I made my choices. He turned his palm up, lacing their fingers together. Every dead man, every robbery, every mile running, all chosen with open eyes. But you... What about me? You could still go back, not to your uncle, but somewhere else. Change your name. Start fresh. You've got education, skills, could be a teacher, maybe have a real life. She was quiet so long he thought she might be considering it. Then, remember what you said about caged things? How you recognize them? Yeah, well, I recognize empty ones. People going through motions, living lives that look full but feel hollow. She squeezed his hand. That's what you're offering, another pretty cage. No thank you. Even if this one gets you killed. We all die. Cole, question is whether we live first. He turned to study her profile in the stormlight. When did the judge's proper niece become a philosopher? Somewhere between shooting a Pinkerton and kissing an outlaw, I think. She met his gaze. Am I going to have to kiss you again? Or are you going to stop trying to save me from myself? Thought I was ruining you. Same thing. Maybe. Best ruins come from the most beautiful buildings. This time when he kissed her, it was slower. The desperate edge had gentled into something deeper, more dangerous. Her hands mapped his face like she was learning him by feel, memorizing angles and scars. The storm raged on, but inside their small shelter, time seemed to pause. They talked between kisses, sharing stories and silences with equal ease. She told him about finding her mother's journal, full of dreams beyond marriage and motherhood. He admitted he still carried Danny's last letter, too painful to read but impossible to throw away. What happens when the storm ends? Eliza asked eventually, settled against his shoulder. We keep riding. Mexico first, get across the border. After that, he shrugged. World's bigger than most folks think, always somewhere new to see. And Garrett, Uncle Samuel? His body tensed. They'll keep. Justice doesn't have an expiration date. I want to be there. When you face them. Eliza. Partners, remember? Equal share in everything. She sat up, facing him squarely. Uncle Samuel destroyed my family same as yours. Just differently. I have as much right to see justice done. He wanted to argue, to protect her from what was coming. But the stormlight showed him a woman who'd already chosen her path, eyes clear and spine straight. All right, he said finally. Partners. She smiled. The first real smile he'd seen from her. It transformed her face, making her look younger and older at once. Good. Now, teach me to shoot properly. The Pinkerton was mostly luck. Despite everything, he laughed. In a cave? In a storm? You can teach me the theory, stance, breathing, all that. I want to be useful, not just baggage you're hauling. So he spent the next hour teaching her fundamentals. How to stand, how to breathe, how to squeeze rather than jerk the trigger. She was a quick study, absorbing everything with the same intensity she'd once probably applied to piano lessons and French grammar. The storm began to weaken as dawn approached. They'd have to move soon. Find water for the horses. Keep pushing south. But for now, they sat together watching the rain slack off, her head on his shoulder, his arm around her waist. "No regrets?" he asked. "One," she admitted. "I wish I'd met you sooner, before life made us both so hard." Might not have recognized each other then. Sometimes you need the breaking to see what's really there. Speaking of philosophy again, Danny used to say I was smarter than I looked. He pressed a kiss to her hair. "Ready to ride?" "Always." They saddled the horses as the last of the storm moved east, leaving the desert washed clean. The air smelled of sage and wet earth, promise and possibility. As they led the horses out, Eliza paused. "Cole, thank you." "For what?" "For the storm, for the shelter, for not being the hero I wanted to make you." She swung into her saddle with growing confidence. "For being exactly the partner I needed." He mounted his own horse, looking at her. This judge's niece turned outlaw. This woman who'd chosen bullets over safety. "Eliza?" "Yeah. I'm glad you didn't listen to my warning." Her smile was bright as the dawn breaking over the mountains. "Best decision I ever made." They rode south into the new day, the storm at their backs and Mexico somewhere ahead. Whatever came next, Pinkertons or peace, bullets or borders, they'd face it together. Two outlaws against the world, building something new from the beautiful ruins of who they used to be. The news reached them in a fly-speck town called Agua Fria, 40 miles from the border. Cole had gone in for supplies while Eliza waited with the horses, hidden in an arroyo outside town. He came back with a grim face and a week-old newspaper. "They know where we're headed," he said, handing her the paper. "Your uncle's put up $10,000 for you, alive only. He wants to save you himself, apparently." Eliza read the headline, "Judge's niece kidnapped by notorious outlaw." The article painted her as an innocent victim, dragged from her home by the murderous Cole Maddox. There was even a quote from Charles Pemberton about his stolen bride. "Kidnapped?" she said flatly. "Of course. Heaven forbid anyone think I chose this." "It's smart. Makes you a victim instead of an accomplice. Means they can shoot me on sight but have to take you breathing." Cole checked his guns, a habit when thinking hard. "Also means every bounty hunter in 3 territories is looking for us now." "Let them look." She crumpled the paper. "How far to the border?" 2 days' ride, if we push hard, but—" He paused, studying the horizon. "They'll be watching the crossing points. Garrison's no fool. He'll have men at every ford and bridge. So we find another way." "There is another way, but you won't like it." She raised an eyebrow. "Waiting." "We double back. Hit them where they don't expect. Your uncle thinks we're running scared for Mexico? Fine. Let him gather his men at the border while we circle back to Dustwood. For Garrett. For justice." His gray eyes had gone cold as winter stone. "End this thing where it started, then disappear for real. No looking back." Eliza considered. It was dangerous, probably foolish, but the thought of her uncle sitting comfortable in his big house, playing the grieving guardian while she was hunted like an animal. "When do we leave?" That ghost of a smile touched his mouth. "That's my girl. Tonight, after moonrise. Sleep now while you can." But sleep wouldn't come. She lay on her bedroll staring at stars, thinking about choices and consequences. Somewhere out there, men with guns were searching for them. Kill Cole. Save Eliza. Those would be the orders. As if she needed saving from the only person who'd ever seen her truly. They rode through the night, navigating by stars and Cole's uncanny knowledge of the land. By dawn, they'd covered 20 miles, stopping to rest in a grove of cottonwoods along a dry creek bed. "I'll take first watch," Cole said, but Eliza saw the exhaustion in the lines of his face. "No, you sleep. I can manage." He looked like he might argue, then nodded. "Wake me if you see anything. Anything at all." She sat with her back against a tree, revolver in her lap, watching the sun climb. The desert came alive around her, quail calling, lizards scurrying, a hawk circling high above. So much life in what looked like emptiness. A dust plume on the horizon made her tense. She watched it grow closer, ready to wake Cole. But it was just a Mexican family in an old wagon, probably heading to market. They passed without noticing the hidden horses. "You did good." Cole's voice came soft behind her. Didn't panic. Didn't wake me for nothing. Natural instincts. How long have you been awake? Since the wagon came in sight. He stretched, joints popping. Hard habit to break, sleeping light, saved my life more than once. Teach me? Can't teach that. Unfortunately, comes from years of people trying to kill you in your sleep. He smiled at her expression. But I can teach you other things. Track reading, for one. Come here. He spent the next hour showing her how to read sign, the difference between horse and mule tracks, how to age prints by their edges, what a spooked animal's gait looked like in dirt. You're learning fast, he said as she correctly identified day-old coyote tracks. I have a good teacher. Or maybe you're just finally doing something that matters to you. He stood, dusting off his knees. We should move. Want to make Skeleton Ridge by nightfall. They were saddling the horses when Cole went still, head tilted. Riders, 3, maybe 4, moving fast. Eliza heard nothing, but she'd learned to trust his instincts. They mounted quickly, Cole leading them deeper into the cottonwoods. The trees were thick here, providing cover but limiting escape routes. The riders appeared minutes later, 4 men in matching dusters, Pinkertons by their look. They stopped at the creek bed, studying the ground. Fresh tracks, one called. They watered here. How long ago? Hour, maybe 2. We're close. Eliza held her breath, hand on her revolver, beside her. Cole had his rifle ready but waited, patient as a hunting cat. Split up, the lead Pinkerton ordered. Morrison, take the north trail. Rest of you, with me. They separated, 3 continuing along the creek, while 1 headed straight toward the cottonwoods. Toward them. Cole caught her eye, motioned for her to stay put. He slipped from his saddle silent as smoke, disappearing into the brush. Eliza gripped her reins, fighting the urge to follow. The Pinkerton, Morrison, rode closer, eyes scanning the trees. His hand rested on his pistol butt. 20 yards, 15, 10. A whisper of movement. Then Cole rose behind Morrison like a ghost. One hand clamped over the man's mouth. The other pressed a knife to his throat. Easy, Cole murmured. You shout, you die. Nod if you understand. Morrison nodded frantically. Good, now, real slow. Drop your guns. All of them. Weapons hit the dirt. Cole kicked them away, then forced Morrison to dismount. How many more are coming? Cole asked, easing the blade just enough for speech. 20, maybe 30. Garrison's bringing everyone. How far behind? Half a day, maybe less. Cole glanced at Eliza. She read the calculation in his eyes. They couldn't outrun that many. Not with tired horses. Here's what's going to happen. Cole told Morrison, you're going to walk back to your friends. Tell them you lost the trail. Tell them we headed south for Mexico just like they thought. You do that. You live. You try to be a hero. The knife pressed harder. I'll tell them. I swear. Smart man. Cole stepped back, keeping Morrison covered. Start walking, and remember, I'll be watching. Morrison stumbled away, not looking back. They waited until he was out of sight before mounting again. He'll tell them, Eliza said. Soon as he's safe. Maybe, but it'll buy us time. Cole turned his horse north. Change of plans. We can't lead 30 men back to Dustwood. Have to lose them first. They rode hard the rest of the day, pushing the horses to their limits. By evening, both animals were lathered and blowing. Cole found shelter in a box canyon, its narrow entrance easily defended. We'll rest here, horses need it. While he tended the animals, Eliza gathered scrub wood for a small fire. They ate in silence, jerky and hard biscuit, washed down with warm water from their canteens. Cole, she said finally, what if we can't lose them? What if they just keep coming? He stared into the fire. Then we make a stand. Take as many with us as we can. That's not a plan. That's suicide. Sometimes they're the same thing. He looked at her across the flames. Having regrets? No, but I'd rather live to see justice done than die running from it. Then we need to be smarter. They expect us to run, so we run, but not where they think. He pulled out a folded map, edges worn soft. There's an old Apache trail through the mountains. Dangerous, especially this time of year, but it comes out 20 miles north of Dustwood. And they won't follow? Can't, not with horses. It's barely a goat track in places. He traced the route with one finger. Take us 3 days instead of 2, but we'd come at Dustwood from a direction they'd never expect. Eliza studied the map. The trail looked like a snake's path through the peaks. Switchbacks and narrow passages marked with warnings in Spanish. When do we start? First light. Get some sleep. Tomorrow's going to be rough. She lay down but kept her eyes open, watching him on watch. The firelight played across his features, highlighting scars and weather lines. Not a handsome man by conventional standards, but there was something compelling in that face. Strength, purpose, a refusal to bend that called to everything rebellious in her own nature. Stop staring, he said without looking at her. Need your rest. Can't sleep. Too much thinking. About how different everything might have been if Danny had lived, if Uncle Samuel had been an honest man, if we'd met some other way. Dangerous game, thinking like that. He shifted to face her. This is what we'd have. Here, now. Has to be enough. Is it? Enough for you? He was quiet so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, day I met you, I was ready to die. Figured I'd kill Garrett, probably your uncle too. Go down shooting, blaze of glory, all that stupidity? He smiled, wry and honest. Now I find myself making plans, thinking about tomorrow, next week, next year. So yeah, it's enough. More than... She sat up, moved to sit beside him. What kind of plans? Ordinary ones? Place to live where we're not looking over our shoulders. Maybe California, maybe further. Somewhere you could use that education of yours. Teaching, maybe. Or writing. Always did like the idea of a woman who could use a pen and a gun with equal skill. And you? Find work, cattle, horses. Whatever pays honest. Build something instead of tearing down for a change. He glanced at her. That sound like something you could want? Yes. No hesitation. But first we survive tomorrow. He kissed her forehead. Now sleep. That's an order. Partner? This time she obeyed, drifting off to the sound of coyotes in the distance and Cole's steady breathing beside her. She woke to his hand on her shoulder. Dawn barely a suggestion in the east. Time to go. They broke camp quickly, erasing signs of their presence. The horses seemed rested, though Cole frowned at the mare's slight limp. She'll make it, he said, but Eliza heard doubt. The Apache trail started innocuously enough, a deer track winding into the foothills. But within an hour, it had narrowed to barely horse width, with sheer drops on one side and rock walls on the other. Don't look down, Cole advised. But Eliza had already made that mistake. The valley floor seemed miles below. Their tracks from yesterday invisible as ant trails. They climbed in single file, Cole leading. The mare's limp worsened, each step careful and painful. By noon, they'd covered maybe 5 miles. We need to stop, Eliza called. She can't continue. Cole looked back, jaw tight. They couldn't stop here. The trail was too narrow. But he nodded, pushing forward until they found a slightly wider spot, barely big enough for both horses. He examined the mare's hoof, expression grim. Stone bruise, gone bad. She's done. We can't leave her. Can't take her either. He stood. Decision made. You'll ride with me. Leave the saddle. Take only what we need. They transferred supplies quickly. Ammunition, water, food. Eliza's spare clothes had to stay. She kept only Danny's badge, tucked safe against her heart. I'm sorry, girl, she whispered to the mare, stroking the soft nose. The horse whickered softly, trusting to the end. Cole did what had to be done, quick and merciful. The shot echoed through the canyon like thunder. If anyone was tracking them, they just announced their position. Come on, he said, helping her mount behind him. We need to move. Riding double slowed them even more. The stallion was strong, but the trail was treacherous, each step requiring careful placement. Eliza wrapped her arms around Cole's waist, feeling the tension in his body. "Riders," he said suddenly. "Below us, moving fast." She peered over his shoulder, saw dust plumes far below. The Pinkertons had found their trail. Can they follow? Not directly. They'll have to go around, find another way up. But they know where we're headed now. His voice was grim. We just lost our advantage. Thunder rumbled overhead, though the sky was clear. Cole looked up, frowning. "What is it?" "Weather coming. Fast." He urged the stallion forward. "We need to find shelter." But there was no shelter on the narrow trail. Just rock and air and growing wind. The first fat raindrops hit as they reached a series of switchbacks, the path doubling back on itself as it climbed. Then the sky opened, rain hammered down, turning the trail to mud in seconds. The stallion slipped, caught himself, slipped again. Lightning cracked overhead, thunder following instantly. "Hold on!" Cole shouted. The horse went to its knees. For one terrible moment, Eliza thought they were going over the edge. Then the stallion found its footing, lurching upright. "We have to get off this trail." "No choice. Keep going." They pushed forward, water streaming down the rock face, turning their path into a river. Each step was a gamble, each turn a dice roll with death. Then, through the rain, Eliza saw it, a cave mouth, barely visible in the rock face. "There!" she pointed. Cole saw it too, guiding the exhausted horse toward shelter. They barely made it, stumbling into the cave as another lightning bolt split the sky. The cave was deeper than the storm shelter had been, stretching back into darkness. They stood dripping, catching their breath. "That was close," Eliza said. "Too close." Cole led the stallion deeper inside, out of the wind. "We'll wait out the storm. Then we finish this, one way or another." He turned to her, rain still running down his face. "I should have left you in Agua Fria, found somewhere safe." "Stop!" She caught his face between her hands. "I chose this, every step, every risk. Stop trying to protect me from my own decisions." "I can't help it." His voice was raw. "Danny died because I couldn't protect him. If something happens to you, then it happens because I chose to be here, because I chose you." She kissed him, tasting rain and desperation. "We're going to make it. Cole, we're going to ride into Dustwood and face them down. Together. Promise?" "Promise." The storm raged outside, but in the cave's darkness, they made their own shelter. Not from rain or wind, but from doubt and fear. Tomorrow would bring whatever it brought, but tonight they had each other. And for now, that was enough. The storm had passed, but danger pressed closer with each hour. They'd made it down from the mountains, the stallion somehow finding footing where none seemed to exist. Now Dustwood lay before them in the valley, lamplights flickering like fallen stars in the purple dusk. "There." Cole pointed to a cluster of buildings on the town's edge. "Garrett's stockyard. He'll have men posted, but that's where we'll find him." They'd left the exhausted stallion hidden in a draw outside town, continuing on foot. Eliza's legs shook from the long ride, but she kept pace with Cole's ground-eating stride. "How many men?" "Usually 4 or 5 at the yard, but with the Pinkertons in town," he shrugged. "Could be more." They circled wide, using scrub brush and shadows for cover. The familiar sounds of Dustwood at night reached them, piano music from the saloons, dogs barking, a woman's laughter sharp as breaking glass. "Wait." Cole dropped to a crouch, pulling her down beside him. Ahead, 2 men stood guard at the stockyard gate, Pinkertons by their dusters, rifles casual in their hands. They looked bored, unaware death crept close in the darkness. "Can we go around?" "Back fence, maybe, but—" Cole's words cut off as shouts erupted from town. Riders thundered down Main Street, torches blazing. Even from here, Eliza recognized the lead rider, Garrison, the Pinkerton captain who'd eaten at her uncle's table. "They know we're here." She breathed. Morrison talked. Or someone spotted us coming down the mountain. Cole's hand found hers. Changes things. They'll lock this place down tight, search every building. So we move now, before they get organized. He looked at her, something fierce and proud in his expression. That's my girl. You ready? She checked her revolver, Danny's badge pressing against her ribs. Ready? They moved like shadows, keeping low. The guards were distracted by the commotion in town. Necks craned to see what was happening. Cole took the first one down silent, an arm around the throat. Pressure until the man went limp. Eliza watched the second guard, revolver steady in her hand. He turned just as Cole finished, mouth opening to shout. Eliza's gun spoke first, the shot cracking through the night. The guard crumpled, clutching his shoulder. Inside, quick! They ran through the gate into the stockyard. Cattle lowed nervously in the pens, spooked by the gunshot. The main building loomed ahead, Garrett's office, where he counted his blood money. The door exploded outward. Tom Garrett himself emerged, shotgun in hand. 3 men behind him. He looked older than Eliza remembered, gone to fat and soft living, but his eyes were still snake-mean. Maddox, he smiled, showing gold teeth. Been expecting you. Tom. Cole stepped forward, hand hovering near his Colt. Time to settle accounts. Your brother was a thief and a fool. World's better without him? Liar. The word came from Eliza, surprising everyone. Danny Maddox never stole anything. You framed him to cover your own crimes. Garrett's eyes flicked to her, widening in recognition. Judge Harrow's niece. Well, he'll be right disappointed to find you here, throwing in with trash. The only trash I see is standing in front of me. Mouthy little thing. Garrett shifted the shotgun toward her. Maybe I'll teach you some manners before I hand you back to your uncle. Cole moved faster than thought, drawing and firing in one smooth motion. Garrett's shotgun flew from his hands. He screamed, clutching bloodied fingers. Nobody threatens her, Cole said, voice cold as winter wind. Nobody. The 3 men behind Garrett went for their guns. The night exploded into chaos, muzzle flashes, shouting, the stink of gunpowder. Eliza found herself moving without thinking, diving behind a water trough as bullets chewed splinters from the wood. She fired back, trying to remember Cole's lessons. Breathe, squeeze, follow through. One of Garrett's men spun and fell. Another ducked back inside the building. Eliza, down! She dropped flat as Cole's rifle cracked overhead. The 3rd man tumbled from the doorway, rifle clattering across packed dirt. In the sudden silence, Garrett's whimpering seemed very loud. He knelt in the dust, cradling his maimed hand. Get up, Cole ordered. You're going to tell the truth. About Danny, about everything. Go to hell. Cole stepped closer, boot coming down on Garrett's wounded hand. The man screamed, the truth, or I take the other hand too. Cole. Eliza touched his arm. They're coming. Hoofbeats thundered closer. The Pinkertons, drawn by gunfire. Too many to fight. They had seconds, maybe less. Please, Garrett sobbed. I'll tell them. I swear. Your brother was innocent. I paid Morrison to lie. The judge knew everything. Louder. Judge Harrow took bribes, set up innocent men. Your brother died for nothing. The first riders burst into the stockyard. Garrison led them, revolver already in hand. His eyes took in the scene. Dead men, Garrett bleeding, Cole and Eliza standing exposed. Drop your weapons, now! You heard him. Garrison, Cole called out, not moving. Garrett just confessed. Judge Harrow's dirty. You've been working for a corrupt man. I don't care if he's the devil himself. I'm paid to bring you in. Garrison aimed at Cole's chest. Dead or alive makes no difference to me. No, Eliza stepped between them. You want justice? Real justice? Then listen to what Garrett has to say. Miss Harrow, step aside. You're confused. Been corrupted by this outlaw. I've been freed by him. She stood taller. My uncle destroyed innocent lives for money. I watched him do it. If you take us now, the truth dies with us. Truth doesn't pay my fee. More riders poured in. A dozen Pinkertons. Guns drawn, they spread out, surrounding them. No escape now. Eliza felt Cole tense beside her, ready to go down fighting. Then a new voice cut through the tension. "Stand down, Garrison." Judge Samuel Harrow rode through the gate, dressed in his best black suit like he was heading to court. His pale eyes found Eliza, cold as marble. "Niece, you've disappointed me greatly." The feeling's mutual. "Uncle." He dismounted, movements careful and precise. "Did you really think you could run off with this animal and face no consequences? I think you're scared." The words came steady, surprising her with their strength. "Scared the truth about your bought verdicts will destroy you." "Truth?" Harrow laughed, sharp and bitter. "Truth is what the law says it is, and I am the law in Dustwood." "Not anymore," Cole said. "Garrett talked. These men heard him. How many will keep quiet when they know they've been hunting innocent people?" Harrow's face didn't change, but Eliza saw the calculation in his eyes. Too many witnesses, too many loose ends. "Garrett's a known criminal," Harrow said smoothly. "His testimony is worthless. As for you, Maddox, you're a killer, plain and simple. Whatever story you fed my niece, he fed me nothing but honesty." Eliza interrupted. "Which is more than you ever did. Tell me, Uncle, how much did Garrett pay you to murder Danny Maddox?" "Danny Maddox was a horse thief. Danny Maddox was 19 years old." Cole's control finally cracked. "A boy who wanted to study law, who believed in justice until you showed him it was for sale." Touching, Harrow drew a small pistol from his coat. "But irrelevant. Garrison, I'm doubling your fee. Kill Maddox. Bring my niece to me." "Uncle, please. You made your choice. Eliza. Now live with it?" He aimed the pistol at Cole. "Or die with it." Everything happened at once. Cole shoved Eliza aside. Going for his gun, Harrow fired, the shot echoing off stockyard walls. Cole grunted, spinning half around but staying upright. Blood darkened his shirt. "No!" Eliza's revolver was in her hand without conscious thought. The world narrowed to the sight picture. Her uncle's chest, perfect center mass. She fired. Samuel Harrow looked surprised. He stared at the spreading red stain on his vest, then at his niece. You actually—" "For Maria," Eliza said. "For Danny. For all of them." Harrow fell to his knees, then forward. The pistol tumbled from nerveless fingers. Silence stretched like taffy. Garrison and his men stood frozen, unsure what to do when their employer lay dying in the dust. Garrett whimpered, still cradling his ruined hand. "Cole." Eliza turned, fear spiking as she saw the blood. "How bad?" "Had worse." But his face was gray, jaw clenched against pain. "We need to go. Now. Nobody moves." Garrison found his voice. "You just killed a territorial judge." "I killed a corrupt man who happened to wear robes." Eliza kept her gun steady, Danny's badge burning against her heart. "Question is, are you corrupt too, or will you let justice finally mean something in this town?" "Justice doesn't—" "Pay your fee. Yes, you said—" She pulled out the badge, holding it high. "This belonged to Danny Maddox, deputized the day before my uncle had him murdered. He believed in the law, even when the law failed him. What do you believe in? Garrison?" The Pinkerton captain looked at the badge, at Harrow's body, at Garrett sobbing in the dirt. Around them, his men shifted uneasily. The price of silence had just gone up considerably. "I believe," Garrison said slowly, "that Tom Garrett needs to stand trial, real trial, with real judges." He holstered his weapon. "I believe Judge Harrow died trying to prevent a confession. Tragic accident." "Captain?" One of his men sounded uncertain. "You heard Garrett's confession same as me. We've been chasing the wrong people." Garrison met Eliza's eyes. "Get out of here. Both of you. Take the back trail. Ride hard. I'll need an hour to sort this mess before I can send men after dangerous fugitives who killed a judge." Cole swayed, more blood soaking his shirt. "Why?" "Because I've got a daughter, about Miss Harrow's age. If she ever showed that kind of courage—" He shrugged. "Hour's all I can give. Make it count." Eliza wrapped her arm around Cole's waist, supporting him. They backed toward the gate, guns still ready. Garrett started to speak, but Garrison's boot caught him in the ribs. "Save it for the trial, Tom." They made it outside, Cole leaning heavier with each step. The stallion waited where they'd left him. Cropping grass like gunfights were ordinary business. "Can you ride?" Eliza asked, trying to see the wound in the darkness. "Have to." Cole gritted his teeth, pulling himself into the saddle. "Ours not much time." She swung up behind him, taking the reins when his hands shook. The stallion moved out at her urging, heading for open desert. Behind them, dustwood began to burn, not with fire, but with truth. By morning, the story would spread. A judge's corruption exposed, a wrong partially righted. Not perfect justice, but better than none. "Eliza," Cole's voice came weak. "If I don't—" "Shut up. You're going to be fine." She urged more speed from the stallion, scanning the horizon for shelter. "You promised me California, remember? Somewhere I could teach, somewhere you could build instead of tear down. Still want that? After what you had to do?" She thought of her uncle's surprised face, the weight of the trigger, the choice made in split-second clarity. He was dead the moment he let Danny hang. "I just finished what he started." She pressed closer to Cole's back, feeling his heartbeat against her chest. "No regrets, not one. That's my girl," he murmured, then, stronger. "There, those rocks, old line shack behind them." She saw it, barely standing but shelter enough, somewhere to stop the bleeding, to rest, to plan their next move. As she helped him from the saddle, Cole caught her face in blood-stained hands. "Eliza, thank you." "For what?" "For saving me, not just tonight, from the moment you refused to be scared off." He kissed her, gentle despite everything. "I'll make this up to you. The running, the fighting, all of it." "You already have." She helped him inside, mind already cataloging what she'd need. Water, bandages, time. "Now stop talking and let me save you properly." Outside, coyotes called to each other across the desert. Inside, Eliza Harrow, outlaw, killer, free woman, set about keeping her promise. They'd make it to California, build that life Cole dreamed of. The road would be hard, the price already paid in blood, but they'd chosen this path with open eyes, and they'd walk it together. No matter where it led. The line shack was little more than 4 walls and a leaking roof, but it might as well have been a palace. Eliza worked by lamplight, hands steady despite the blood, so much blood. The bullet had torn through Cole's left side, missing vital organs by inches. "You're lucky," she said, pressing clean cloth to the wound. "Don't feel lucky." His voice came through clenched teeth. "Feel like I've been kicked by a mule. Hold still." She'd found a bottle of whiskey in the saddlebags, using it to clean the wound. Cole hissed, but didn't pull away. "I need to stitch this." "You know how?" "Watched Uncle's housekeeper do it once. How different can it be from embroidery?" Comforting, but he held still as she worked, needle pulling flesh together with careful stitches. His face went gray, sweat beading despite the cool night air. "Tell me about California," she said, trying to distract him. "What's it like?" "Green," he managed. "So green it hurts to look at after the desert. Fog rolls in from the ocean like smoke. Hills covered in wildflowers come spring. Sounds beautiful." "It is. Little town called Mendocino, up the coast. Man I knew settled there. Said they need teachers. Said a man with horse sense could make an honest living." He sucked in a breath as she tied off a stitch. "Thought maybe we could try it. Together? If you'll have me. Bullet holes and all." She paused in her work, meeting his eyes. "Cole Maddox. Is that a proposal?" "Maybe. Probably doing it wrong. Danny always said I had no romance in me." "I don't need romance." She went back to stitching. "I need honesty, partnership, someone who sees me as I am, not what they want me to be." "Then yeah, it's a proposal." He caught her hand, stilling it. "Marry me, Eliza." Not for propriety or protection, because I can't imagine any future that doesn't have you in it. Yes. No hesitation. No doubt. Though we'll have to find a priest who doesn't ask too many questions. Mexico first. Get married there, then ship to California. New names, new life. He smiled despite the pain. Mr. and Mrs. Whoever we decide to be. She finished the stitching, binding the wound tight. There. You'll live to see that green coast. Thanks to you. He pulled her close with his good arm. Eliza, what you did tonight was necessary. Uncle Samuel made his choice years ago. I just delivered the bill. She rested her head on his shoulder, careful of his injury. I thought I'd feel guilty, but all I feel is free. That's how it was for me. First man I killed for Danny. He stroked her hair, movement slow with exhaustion. Kept waiting for the guilt. Never came, just relief that there was one less snake in the world. They sat in comfortable silence, listening to night sounds through the thin walls, somewhere out there. Garrison's men were searching, but the Pinkerton captain had given his word. 1 hour. It would be enough. We should go, Eliza said finally. Put more distance between us and Dustwood. In a minute. Cole's breathing had steadied, some color returning to his face. Want to tell you something first, about Danny. She waited, sensing the importance of this moment. Last time I saw him, we argued. He wanted me to come to town, watch him get sworn in as deputy. I said I had work to do. Couldn't waste time on ceremonies. Cole's voice roughened. He looked so disappointed, but he hugged me anyway, told me he loved me. 3 days later, he was dead. Cole, I've carried that with me 5 years. The regret, wishing I'd gone. Wishing I'd said the words back. He turned to face her fully. I won't make that mistake again. I love you, Eliza Harrow. However long we have, whether it's 50 years or 50 minutes, I want you to know that. Tears she hadn't expected burned her eyes. I love you too, from that first moment on the street, when you looked at me like I was real, like I mattered. You do matter, more than you know. He kissed her, soft and sweet, despite split lips and trail dust. Now let's get out of here before Garrison changes his mind. She helped him stand, noting how he favored his left side. The ride would be agony, but he'd endure. They both would. Outside, the stallion waited patient as stone. Eliza saddled him quickly, checking their supplies. Food for 3 days, water for 2. It would have to be enough. Mexico's 4 days' ride, Cole said, reading her thoughts. We'll find water along the way. Always have before. And if we don't, then we'll face that together too. He hauled himself into the saddle, face tight with pain. Come on, wife-to-be, let's see what's waiting over the horizon. She swung up behind him, arms careful around his waist. The stallion moved out at an easy walk, saving strength for the journey ahead. They rode through the last of the night, stars fading as dawn approached. The desert stretched endless, but Eliza found comfort in its vastness. All that space to disappear into, all those possibilities. Tell me about your mother, Cole said as the sun crested the mountains. You mentioned her journal. She was like me, I think, or I'm like her. Eliza smiled at the memory. Married young to my father, had me, played the perfect wife, but her journal, full of dreams. She wanted to travel, to write, to see the ocean. Did she? No, died when I was 8. Fever took her and father both. Old grief, worn smooth by time. Uncle Samuel burned her journal, said it was full of improper thoughts for a lady. But you read it first. Every word. Memorized parts of it. She pressed closer to his warmth. She wrote about feeling like a bird in a gilt cage, beautiful to look at, but dying inside. I promised myself I'd never live that way. And now you're free. Now we're free, she corrected. Both of us. No more running for revenge. No more cages built by other people's expectations. Just running from the law, he pointed out. For now, but someday we'll stop running. Build that life you talked about. She pictured it, a small house overlooking the ocean, children playing in the yard, Cole working with horses while she taught school. Think we can really do it? Leave all this behind? Danny believed in second chances, said everyone deserved one, no matter what they'd done. Cole shifted in the saddle, suppressing a grunt of pain. Maybe it's time I started believing too. The sun climbed higher. Heat already building. They'd need to find shade soon. Rest through the worst of the day. But for now they kept moving. Two shadows against the vast canvas of sand and stone. Riders, Cole said suddenly. Behind us, moving fast. Eliza turned, shading her eyes. Dust plume rising, still distant but closing. Garrison's men? Maybe, or bounty hunters who heard about the prices on our heads. He urged the stallion to a faster pace. Either way, we need cover. The landscape offered little. Scattered rocks, stunted brush, a dry wash that might hide them briefly. Not enough. Not nearly enough. There! Eliza pointed to a cluster of tall rocks ahead. Looks like another cave. It was, a narrow cleft in the stone, barely wide enough for the horse. They squeezed inside, dismounting in the close darkness. Stay with the horse, Cole said, checking his rifle. Keep him quiet. Where are you going? To see who's so eager to catch up. He touched her face. If things go bad, you ride, don't look back. Like hell. Eliza. Partners, remember? Equal share in everything. She drew her revolver, including last stands. He looked like he wanted to argue, but the hoofbeats were getting closer. Instead, he kissed her quick and hard. Don't get killed, Mrs. Almost Maddox. Same to you, Mr. Soon to be whoever. He slipped out of the cave, moving despite his injury with the fluid grace she'd come to admire. Eliza waited, hand on the stallion's neck, feeling the animal's steady heartbeat. Voices carried on the still air. She couldn't make out words, but the tone was wrong. Too casual, too confident. Not Garrison's professional Pinkertons. A gunshot cracked. Then another. The stallion threw his head up, but she held him steady, murmuring nonsense comfort words. More shots. Rapid fire. Then silence that stretched like a held breath. Cole? She called softly. No answer. Cole! Still nothing. Fear clawed at her throat. She started for the cave entrance, then froze as a figure appeared. Not Cole, a stranger, beard thick with dust, guns drawn and ready. Well, what have we here? His grin showed broken teeth. You'd be the judge's niece, worth 10,000 alive. Was worth that. She kept her voice steady. He's dead. No one's paying bounties anymore. Maybe not him, but someone will pay for a pretty thing like you. He stepped closer. Where's Maddox? Gone. Left me behind when the riding got hard. Now that don't sound like the Cole Maddox I've heard about. Another step. Think you're lying, girl. She raised her revolver. Think you should leave. While you can. He laughed. You even know how to use that thing? I put 3 Pinkertons in the ground. Want to be fourth? His smile faltered slightly, but greed won over caution. Big talk for a society girl playing outlaw. He lunged. Eliza fired, but he was already moving, knocking the gun from her hand. They crashed against the cave wall, his weight pinning her, hands rough on her throat, squeezing. Should have stayed home, he grunted. Married that soft prosecutor. Now you'll die in the dirt like... The pressure vanished. He staggered back, looking surprised at the knife hilt sprouting from his chest. Cole stood behind him, gray-faced but steady. Nobody, Cole said coldly, touches her. The bounty hunter fell, twitched once, went still. Cole sagged against the cave wall, fresh blood soaking his shirt. You tore the stitches, Eliza said, rushing to him. Worth it. He managed a weak smile. You all right? Thanks to you. She pressed her hand to his wound, trying to stem the bleeding. How many were there? 3. This one must have circled around. He caught her hand. We need to go. Now. Others will have heard the shots. You can barely stand. Then I'll barely ride, but we can't stay here. He pushed himself upright through sheer will. Help me up. She did, though every movement clearly sent agony through him. The stallion stood rock steady as they mounted, seeming to sense his rider's desperation. They left the cave and its grim contents behind, pushing south toward the promise of Mexico. Cole swayed in the saddle, Eliza's arms the only thing keeping him upright. Stay with me, she murmured. You promised me California, green hills and ocean fog. Still promising, he managed. Just might take a little longer to get there. The sun reached its zenith, heat hammering down like a smith's forge. They found shade beneath a lone cottonwood, Cole barely conscious as she helped him down. Water, she said, raising the canteen to his lips. Drink. He did, then pushed it away. Save it. You'll need it if... Stop. You're not dying on me. Cole Maddox. She tore strips from her shirt, rebinding his wound. I won't allow it. Stubborn woman. You knew that when you proposed. She worked quickly, efficiently. Or was that the fever talking? No fever, no takebacks. He caught her hand. Meant every word. Good, because I'm holding you to it. She got him back on the horse as the sun began its western descent. Mexico was close now. She could feel it like a promise in the air. One more night, maybe two. They'd make it because they had to. Eliza? Cole's voice came soft against her ear. Still here. Need you to know. If I don't make it, you will. But if I don't, want you to keep going. California, that town, Mendocino, start fresh. His arm tightened around her waist. Live free, for both of us. We'll live free together, she said firmly. No other option. Love your stubbornness, he murmured. Love you. Love you too. Now stop talking and save your strength. They rode on as stars began to appear, each one a small promise in the darkening sky. Behind them lay dustwood and death. Judgment and justice served cold. Ahead waited uncertainty, but also possibility. Two outlaws against the world, writing their own law in blood and choices. They'd been broken by life, reshaped by loss, brought together by defiance. Now they'd see what they could build from the beautiful ruins. Together. Dawn broke like a promise over the Mexican border, painting the desert in shades of gold and rose. Eliza had never seen anything more beautiful than that simple wooden sign, Frontera. They'd made it. Cole stirred against her back, fever-warm but alive. He'd drifted in and out of consciousness through the night, mumbling about Danny, about California, about her. She'd kept them moving by stars and stubborn will, the stallion somehow finding his way when she couldn't see past exhaustion. Mexico? Cole's voice came rough but aware. Mexico, she confirmed. We made it. Told you, we would. He tried to sit straighter. Groaned. Water? She helped him drink, noting the improved color in his face. The bleeding had stopped, the wound beginning to close. He'd live if infection didn't set in. There's a town, she said, pointing to smoke rising in the distance. Maybe 2 miles. San Miguel. I know it. He managed a weak smile. Friend there. Doctor who doesn't ask questions. They rode slow. The stallion picking his way down a rocky slope. The town materialized from morning haze. Adobe buildings clustered around a small plaza. A church bell tower reaching toward heaven. People stared as they entered. A blood-stained gringo and a woman in torn men's clothes. Sharing a horse like the world's sorriest desperados, but no one challenged them. This was a place where people minded their own business, where the past stopped at the border. Cole directed her to a small house on a quiet street. Blue door faded by sun. She helped him down, keeping him upright as she knocked. The door opened to reveal a thin Mexican man with intelligent eyes. He took one look at Cole and stepped aside. Bring him in, quickly. Miguel, Cole managed. Sorry to trouble you. Quiet, my friend. Save your strength. The doctor, Miguel, helped her get Cole to a small bedroom. You are the woman? Eliza? You know about me? Cole sent word weeks ago. Said if a woman named Eliza came looking for help, I was to give it. Miguel was already cutting away Cole's shirt, examining the wound. He said you were worth saving. He was right, Cole murmured. About that. Anyway, Miguel worked with quiet efficiency, cleaning and restitching the wound. Eliza held Cole's hand as the doctor probed for infection. Applied healing salves. You did well, Miguel told her. These stitches saved his life. Where did you learn? Desperation is a good teacher. The best, sometimes. He finished bandaging. He needs rest. A week, maybe 2. The wound is deep but clean. He will heal. Relief hit her like a physical thing. She swayed, and Miguel caught her arm. When did you last eat? Sleep? I don't remember. Then come. My wife will feed you. Cole is safe now. She looked at Cole, already sleeping, chest rising and falling steadily. Safe. They were safe. Miguel's wife, Rosa, was a round woman with kind eyes who asked no questions. She fed Eliza beans and rice, found her a clean dress, drew a bath in a copper tub. Simple kindnesses that felt like miracles. Clean and fed. Eliza returned to Cole's room. She sat beside the bed, watching him sleep, finally letting herself believe they'd survived. We're going to make it, she whispered. California, that green coast you promised me. Days passed in quiet healing. Cole's fever broke the second night, his eyes clearing. By the 4th day he could sit up, though Miguel forbade anything more strenuous. Patience, the doctor said. You've survived this long. Don't die now from foolishness. Eliza spent the days learning from Rosa, cooking, mending, the rhythms of a simple life. In the evenings, she sat with Cole, planning their future. New names, he said one night. Can't go to California as Maddox and Harrow. What should we be? Something plain, forgettable. He thought. James and Elizabeth Carson, ranchers from Texas heading west. Elizabeth Carson. She tested the name. I like it. Close enough to remember. Different enough to be safe. We'll need papers. Marriage certificate. He caught her hand. Want to do it proper. In the church, with witnesses. Even though we're living in sin under the same roof? Especially then? His thumb traced circles on her palm. Want you to have something real, not running, not hiding. Just us, making promises we intend to keep. They were married a week later in the small church, Miguel and Rosa as witnesses. Eliza wore a borrowed dress. Cole stood careful of his healing wound. The priest spoke the words in Spanish, but the meaning was clear in any language. Para siempre, Cole said when prompted. Forever. Para siempre. Eliza repeated. Simple gold bands, bought with the last of their money. No flowers, no feast, no family to celebrate. But when Cole kissed her, Eliza felt more married than any society wedding could have made her. That night, in their small room, they came together careful of injuries but desperate for connection, skin against skin, hearts beating in rhythm, building something new from the ashes of who they'd been. No regrets? Cole asked after, holding her close. None? You? Just one. He kissed her forehead. Wish Danny could have met you. He'd have loved your spirit. He knows, she said softly. Wherever he is, he knows you found justice, found peace. Found you, Cole corrected. The rest came with it. 2 more weeks of healing, gathering supplies, preparing. Miguel found them horses, not prime stock but sturdy enough. Rosa packed food for the journey, kissing Eliza's cheeks like a daughter. Vaya con Dios, she whispered. Go with God. The morning they left, Cole was strong enough to ride alone. They took the coast road, the Pacific finally coming into view like a blue miracle. Eliza had never seen the ocean, and she reined in to stare. It's so big, she breathed. Wait until you see it from Mendocino. Cliffs and rocks, waves that sound like thunder. Cole moved his horse beside hers. We'll build a house where you can see it every morning. And you'll work with horses? Already sent word to my friend. He's holding a job for James Carson. He smiled. You'll teach the local children. Raise our own when they come. Listen to us, making plans like normal people. We are normal people. Now. He reached across the space between horses, taking her hand. Elizabeth Carson, teacher, James Carson. Horseman, boring as dirt. Perfect, she said, meaning it. They rode north along the coast, camping on beaches, swimming in tide pools, learning each other in the safety of solitude. Cole's wound healed to a scar, another story written on his skin. Eliza's hands grew brown from sun, calloused from rains. 3 weeks later, they crested a hill and saw it. Mendocino, perched on cliffs above the sea, white houses, a church steeple, fishing boats in the harbor. Smoke from chimneys promised warm hearths and normal lives. Ready? Cole asked. Ready. They rode down into town as James and Elizabeth Carson, travelers from Texas looking to settle. Cole's friend, a German named Hans who ran a stable, greeted them with job offers and keys to a small cottage on the edge of town. Is good house, Hans said. Needs work, but solid. Like you, Ja? The cottage sat on a bluff overlooking the ocean. 2 rooms and potential. They stood in the doorway, seeing past broken shutters and sagging porch to what could be home, Eliza said, testing the word. Home, Cole agreed. That night, they sat on their broken porch watching the sun sink into the Pacific. Behind them lay miles of running, blood and choices, prices on their heads that might never lift, but none of that mattered now. Thank you, Eliza said suddenly. For what? For the warning, that day on the street. She turned to him. You said you'd ruin me. You did. Ruined everything I was supposed to be. Any regrets? Just one. She smiled. That you didn't ruin me sooner. He laughed, pulling her close. I love you, Elizabeth Carson. I love you too, James Carson. The waves crashed below, eternal and indifferent. Somewhere, bounty hunters still searched. Somewhere, new judges made old mistakes. But here, now, 2 people who'd chosen freedom over safety built something worth having. A teacher and a horseman. A wife and husband. Not the life either had planned, but the one they'd fought to claim. The stars came out over Mendocino, and Cole and Eliza Maddox, now the Carsons, went inside their new home. Tomorrow would bring work and challenges, building a life from nothing but determination. But tonight, they had each other, and that was enough. It would always be enough. In the distance, coyotes called to their mates across the California hills. The ocean sang its ancient song, and 2 outlaws who'd found their way to love finally stopped running, ready to live the life they'd paid for in blood and bullets. Free at last, together at last, forever. Thank you so much for listening to this Wild West love story. I hope you enjoyed following Cole and Eliza on their dangerous journey from Dustwood to freedom. I'd love to know where in the world you're listening to this tale. Please share in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to the From Wild West channel for more authentic frontier stories filled with romance, adventure, and the untamed spirit of the American West. What did you think of Cole and Eliza's story? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you.